these guys fight. But going back to the actual fights, Khabib 25-0 is his Dagestani mauler from Russia. Tony Ferguson 23-3, winner of 10 straight fights, 7 by stoppage. Khabib has beat a bunch of good, awesome fighters. Edson Barbosa was the latest one. Rafael Dos Anjos, a former lightweight champ. And then El Kakui triangled Kevin Lee in the lightweight interim championship bout a few months ago. He darsed Edson Barboza and Lando Venata, decision over Rafael Dos Anjos and Josh Thompson. I mean, these were two guys that people were looking at as kind of like a trilogy, like a triangle between those two and Conor McGregor. Like, I just want to see these three guys fight all of each other at some point, whether there's a title on the line, whether there's an interim title on the line, whether it's just a number one contender for the other guy's title or what. And not only that, but these guys, this was their fourth time being scheduled to fight. First time, December 2015 for the TUF 22 finale, rib injury for Khabib. The second time, UFC on Fox 19, April 2016, Tony Ferguson had some lung issue. He got a lung injury. They couldn't fight. Third time, UFC 209, March 2017, they said, okay, these guys have done so well so far, they're going to fight for the interim lightweight championship because they know Conor McGregor wasn't going to be fighting for a while. Khabib got hospitalized the day before because of a bad weight cut. And this fourth time, UFC 223, just last weekend, for the full lightweight championship, Tony Ferguson goes to the Fox Sports studios to have an interview with Colin Cowherd and Christine Leahy. And now, Bobby, but some people might not know, Tony Ferguson's kind of just a weird dude. Like, he's kind of just out there. Like, he seems like he has some eccentricities that just other people don't really have, which is cool. I mean, that makes him El Kakui. That makes him the fighter he is and makes people like him a lot. But apparently, he's just going all out, walking to the stage, sees someone he didn't expect to see, does like a 270-degree turn, trips over a cable, and tears his LCL in his knee. Like, if there is not a matchup that is cursed, and that this is not a cursed happening, that, the MMA gods are coming down and saying, guys, we know you want this fight, but it's just not going to happen. And here, we're going to show you the most ridiculous way possible that this is never going to happen. The only way it could be more ridiculous is if it was like a Salvador Perez from the Kansas City Royals type thing, where he's walking down the stairs, skips over a stair, and like tears his knee or sprains his knee that way. So once that happened, absolute devastation. But then, Bobby, oh my God, not only are we going to still have Khabib fight, but then he's going to fight Max Holloway, the featherweight champion, which could be even a better fight. I don't know about you, but for me, that was a fight I was maybe even looking forward to more than Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. What were your thoughts when you first heard that Khabib was going to be fighting Max Holloway now?
When I heard that, I was just like, okay, well, at least we're getting a really good matchup out of this. Yeah. If we're going to lose Tony Ferguson, we're not going to get the matchup we've been waiting for forever, then at least Max Holloway, who's a champion, like, let's get this going. Let's see what happens here. Then we get the devastating news that can't happen. And then Anthony Pettis comes in, and we thought maybe he would start to fight. He did all these weight cuts, did everything he could to try to get in. Then he gets ruled he couldn't fight. And then we get Al Iaquinta. I mean, talk about one guy. I mean, all the credit in the world to him, stepping up literally like with 24-hour notice. More power to him. But this guy was very unimpressive in The Ultimate Fighter. He never really has formed to show any kind of talent. And you just knew it was going to be a completely one-sided fight. Yeah. But I'll let you go ahead.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, so Max comes in the day of the weigh-ins. Everyone's weighing in, and things seem to be going smoothly. The Conor event happens, and people are like, "What just happened?" And people are still trying to digest this. They're looking at the photo and the video of Conor throwing stuff through the plate glass window, and then there's that. I don't know if you saw the still footage or the still shot. There's this one photo, or it's just like a still shot that someone pulled from that video. It looks like an image. Did you ever see that movie with not Heath Ledger? Crap. It's a horror movie. The guy's a writer. Not The Conjuring. One of those movies where they have all these like old. Actually, yes, it is The Conjuring. No, sorry, not The Conjuring. Okay, our producer. Yeah, work on that. Look it up. They're working on it right now. It's the one where they have all these old VHS tapes or like film reels in the attic. And this guy comes in, he's a writer, he writes about like these true crime stuff and he's trying to solve it. And, crazy stuff happens. It's all like, what's it called? Like the 7mm or whatever type film. So it's all like very sketchy and old and scary. It looks like one of the stills that he would stop on and look at. And it was just, supposed to be terrifying. This picture of Conor McGregor, he looks like he's possessed by a demon. And it's absolutely terrifying. So everyone's trying. Yeah, I'll send it to you in a second here. Everyone's trying to digest all of this stuff. And like, okay, well, hopefully there's no fights canceled. Nothing has been confirmed yet. And then we're hit with the bombshell that Max Holloway, not only was he not able to weigh in, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and granted, New York State Athletic Commission, they've had a lot of troubles with the UFC. The UFC and MMA in totality was banned up until a few years ago, until 2015, and they had that huge fight in Madison Square Garden. They couldn't have professional MMA fights, and yet a lot of people who are MMA fans are posting on Twitter like, hey, there's a backyard, fist fight scheduled for this auto shop, and it's being looked at by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, but I'm so glad that mixed martial arts, a professional sport enjoyed by millions, is still outlawed. So the commissioner for the New York State Athletic Commission came in, just looked at Max Holloway, and granted, Max Holloway probably looked pretty bad because he said he had a huge weight cut, I think like 30 pounds in like a week, which we can talk about either this episode or maybe another episode about how weight cutting is kind of turning into a bigger problem in mixed martial arts.
Yes.
But she looked at him, no doctor around. She's just like, nope, he's not fit to fight. And she pulled him just like that. And that is kind of what sent people spiraling down the hill even further. Then we heard that, like you said, Michael Chiesa got knocked out of his fight against Anthony Pettis because he got, multiple small lacerations on his face from the glass breaking. We had, who else? Ray Borg, who apparently at first did not feel any symptoms of his injury, but had tiny little glass particles in his eyes. And people were giving him crap on Twitter because he was wearing glasses, and somehow they thought that wearing glasses would keep him from getting any glass in his eye. I think
that just gives me the heebie-jeebies right there.
I'd be afraid if I were him to just like lose an eye. Like, hey, doc, I'm going to keep both my eyes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like,
then you could just, it might be not necessarily a bad thing because then he could just sue Conor McGregor for his entire life.
True. But they need to be blind. So, it's like, all right. Would you rather
be rich or blind?
All right. Poll question of the night. Would you rather be blind with $100 million or be not blind and be making $40,000 to show at a UFC event? We'll take your answers on Twitter at Alex Klepper, at Goodsby Bobby. I'll put up a poll. So that happened. Artem Lobov was kicked out of his site because he was part of the whole mob scene there at the bus corral. And then we almost had Rose Namajunas, who was fighting for who is the women's strawweight champion. She almost pulled out because she almost got punched by someone in the chaos. It was just a crazy, crazy scene. Like you said, Anthony Pettis tried to step in. He wanted more money to take the fight, which, makes sense. He's fighting for a title. He's changing opponents last minute. Dana White and the UFC, like their usual cheap selves, said no. Anthony Pettis passes, so Anthony Pettis doesn't fight at all because Chiesa couldn't fight. Then Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, tries to step in. But apparently because the UFC put in their ranking system, which is ranked on by just random journalists, if you're an actual reputable journalist and you're voting on this and you're listening, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bash you personally, but guys like Ariel Helwani, Ben Folks, guys for the top MMA sites like MMA Junkie and MMA Fighting, they're not voting on this thing. It's a lot of kind of like us, Bobby. If I put in and said, hey, I'm part of Club in the Goods, I do Cal Poly, and they'd be like, all right, here's a ballot. And you know what? I would probably do it, but that doesn't give credence to the fact that this is the top 15. So the New York State Athletic Commission says, Paul Felder, he's not ranked in the UFC rankings. He can't fight for the belt. And then comes Al Iaquinta. Tries to save the day, does save the day. The fights come around, and he gets absolutely mauled by Khabib, which really probably any of these guys, and I like to think that Tony Ferguson would have a good chance. I would say I was kind of leaning 58-42 for Khabib in their fight. But I think if Khabib fights Anthony Pettis or Paul Felder or Al Iaquinta, I mean, Khabib is just going to absolutely just destroy you, take you down, do his tenacious ground and pound. And he did that for the first 2 rounds on Saturday night, then kind of just worked his jab, much to the chagrin of Joe Rogan, for the rest of the fight. And, the new lightweight champion of the UFC, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Bobby, what do you think is next for Khabib? Does Conor kind of work his legal stuff out quickly and they try to put that on? Do they try to get Tony Ferguson healed quickly and do that? Do they put Max Holloway in there because he was, going to be in that fight now? Or the guy that Khabib called out at the end of the fight, none other than George St. Pierre.
Okay, let me say this. I know it hasn't been an easy road, and I know that he has a lot of fights under his belt, all while being undefeated. But for Khabib, is there not more of a weird, intricate, very sloppy way to become a title holder? I feel like we've never seen anything like this. For you to have to fight a guy that is the 5th option, 4th option, what have you, to win the title. And like I said, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's one of the best fighters in the world. He's had many fights. He's got a huge win, one of the longest win streaks in UFC history. But it just seems sloppy. It just seems weird. It doesn't seem like true UFC. And I know it's not by any fault of his own, but I don't look at this and say, oh yeah, he is a dominant champion right now. He's a dominant champion because he's dominant himself, but to get there, I don't feel like was a dominant way to get there. So, if you get what I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't feel like he's the champion.
No, it is. It's just such a strange situation. Yeah, to get in this way, it almost feels like, all right, well, when he wins his next fight, if he wins his next fight, then he is really okay, the champion, because there's not all this extenuating circumstances around it.
Exactly. And so, like I said, to take nothing away from him, as far as his next fight goes, I mean, all want to see El Kajui and him fight. We want to see it happen. We want to see this fight that we've been waiting on for forever. But now that you have this drama, this intrigue, this why is this happening situation with him and McGregor, this is now going to be the fight that the fans want to see. We know for a fact that Conor McGregor is not going to come back till there's the right fight for him. And who knows if he'll ever come back. But he's been taking a long layoff over a couple years now, and he's kind of just taking his time. Now he kind of has something to fight for again. He never got his hands on Khabib when this whole situation started. Maybe he'd be down to take this fight and actually make this an entertaining fight. And I get it from the UFC standpoint. They'll probably want to market this as, let's see what happens. Now he can finally get in the ring and fight him instead of doing it by breaking the law. They might go that angle. They might go the angle of, well, we don't want to give this guy the fight that he wants just because he has a beef with him outside and that this whole situation happened. They might go one of two ways with it. I'm thinking because of the fact that the UFC, it's very popular still, but it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster. There's just not been any of those big fights that we are used to seeing, except for the fight that you and I went to, which was the John Jones fight. Now, there's no big names, because Conor's not in it. There's not that guy right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that are minor, but there's no Chuck Liddell. There's no Rampage. There's no John Jones. There's no Conor McGregor. Nothing that's really everyone's licking their chops to see that fight. This might bring the interest back into it. This might bring a little something back into it to give it a little more flair again. And I could totally see them going that way of bringing this fight in. It's going to have to be done the right way because as much as the lead up to it and the trash talking would be great, I don't know. It's a fight I want to see because they're two powerhouse guys. Two guys that are dominant at their respective classes.
Yeah.
So that would be the fight I would want to see.